Hi there. This week's episode of the Baascast was filmed at Ujabule Lodge in Hoedspruit. We were sitting outside, the weather was great, there were birds and bees and flowers and things all around us. At one point I was even attacked by a vicious gecko. Now, this nature came with its own sound effects. I did try and get rid of some of it, but you will still hear some of the noises during our conversations. Just want to give you a heads up, you're not going crazy, it's just a bushveld. So enjoy, thanks for listening, really look forward to your feedback after this. My guest in this one is great, you will love him, I already do. Have a good one.
You wanted to be the guy that just pressed play and then said, put your hands on the guy. I want to put myself into my craft, so I'm going to put as much effort into it as I can,
Difference you feel between your party scene now versus when I did things in Hatfield area 10 years ago?
It's also very important to recognize that there are issues, but it's also very important to not dwell on those issues.
To bond on something that we both like than trying to suss out and address the inequities of the past the whole time.
So the harder for me to do is play Spotify, and that's not why I'm here.
You're listening to the Baascast. Yeah, it is better than it sounds. Welcome back to the Baascast. My name is Baas de Beer, and you are tuned in to not only the coolest podcast this side of the sun, but definitely the most fun that you can have with most of your clothes on. Joining me today in this picturesque setting at Ujabule Lodge in Hoedspruit, I have the wonderfully talented, gloriously sexy, and absolutely amazing DJ Izzit, or TJ, depending on who you ask. Welcome.
Thank you, what an intro.
You better play that in your DJ sets from now on.
100%, I have to sample it. There's no other way to go about it.
Well, DJ, just a quick introduction. Do you want us to call you Izzit in this chat or TJ?
Yeah, we'll do Izzit for this chat.
Izzit?
Yeah.
Why Izzit?
Because it was something that I was debating about with myself. Like, I want to find a name and I want it to be original, but I still want it to be somewhat local, but catchy, So one day my mom walks in, she was like, what about Izzit? And I'm like, that's the one.
Because it's got a nice local groove to it,
Exactly.
Izzit, huh?
Exactly.
You can tune someone.
And I drop it in conversation every now and then,
So it comes natural to you.
Yeah, subliminal marketing.
I just keep thinking that if ever I don't know if you DJ'd in like four ways before, but I just picture that someone there's going to tune, you're going to think they're calling you and they just, Izzit, it's just someone starting a fight.
Not even four ways, hey, like it's happened Pretoria, it's happened,
The nice thing is you can always de-escalate a fight by saying, oh, that's my name, how did you know?
Exactly.
Your girlfriend will be shouting it later. Don't say that, don't say that. Oh, well, I was just, okay, we are in nature. I was just scaled by a gecko.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, it literally ran up my leg.
Okay, I thought you were going to say it was some sort of bug, but a gecko is fine.
Look, it could have been a lion. I suppose we are safe.
You'll be fine.
Oh, listen, speaking of safe, you generally don't play it safe when you DJ, right? You throw out what you think needs to go out, and talk me through it. What's your style, your vibe, and your approach to your DJing?
Well, generally, if I'm playing at a new venue, like I'd like to do some research beforehand, see what type of events they've held, what type of vibe that they kind of accommodate, and then when I go play, because I'm being booked, I still want to bring my style to it, So I'll play, somewhere in between, and then I'll go far left and then far right, and then come back to between, just to incorporate everybody, Some new bangers, some old bangers.
Just to make sure quickly, when you say you go far right and far left, does that mean you play Kill the Boer and then Pompoen from Steve Hofmeyer or something?
I mean, like, straight up from, like, hard EDM, like, into some, like, classic folk. I've done that before, and it works really well sometimes.
I will say this to you, that I've seen you at gigs, and you seem to read a crowd very much like a kid reads a comic book. There's pictures for you. It just flows logical. Do you invest a lot of time in just the music, or do you get to know people? Because you do seem like a bit of a psychologist on stage.
It's a bit of both. You have to know what type of people that you're going to be playing to, and you have to know what type of music might work best with them, And obviously, once you start playing music, you start to get a feeler for what works and what doesn't, And then obviously, when I have my baseline of what works, I can kind of think outside the box every now and then,
So as long as you've got a good foundation of what you do, then you can play around a little bit.
I've got a good foundation, and I can see that I have a core group vibing, then I can make it work for everyone else.
Now, I have to be honest, look, in my illustrious DJ career spanning on over 20 years, I have never achieved in a career's lifetime the skill that you put into one set, right? Let's just be honest. I am a dynamic playlist DJ. I just make sure the right song goes up and virtual DJ does the rest. You manage to entertain while doing the technical stuff yourself on stage. And I need to ask this, but I've got an opinion, and I know there are some of my mates that hate me for it, but generally speaking, I believe there's a lot of successful DJs that are very lazy. They will have a good bedroom mix happening, or, do the stuff, stand on stage, press play, and do that for the rest of the hour and a half they're playing.
That's very true.
While I've got tremendous respect for a couple of DJs, like, I'm not going to highlight others right now, but I mean, I've seen, for instance, Bongani Zulu play, and he does the work, You stand on stage, you put in the work on stage, it feels more real, more of a live production to me. Is that your plan, or is that just how it happened for you? Is it on purpose?
I'd never wanted to be the guy that just pressed play and then said, put your hands up type guy, Like I wanted this to be, it's my craft, I want to put myself into my craft. So I'm going to put as much effort into it as I can, on the technical side of things, as well as on like the interpersonal side of things with the people that I'm playing for. Like I like getting hands deep, like, up to my elbow, dirt, trying to get, that nuance going, if I'm going to call it that. Like if I've never been the type of guy that will let a song run its track, run its race. Like I'll always try to find an element to like loop it in with the next song of like a completely different genre, and not just, stop, kill the fade, and then press play on the next song.
That is where it gets difficult for me. It's like knowing when to not play what of a song. Because I think there's a lot of times that the only popular part of a song is the hook line, is the chorus, is the verse, is the bridge, is the bit that people sing along to. And then in my style of DJing, as I mentioned, DJing, you are kind of stuck with the whole song, because I'm not remixing, I'm not changing anything in the song. I might just cut it a bit earlier and fade some out in the beginning. You managed to build almost like a new song every 30 seconds. I remember you DJing at the Hoedspruit New Year's event, where we are at now, kind of, except it's not New Year's. And I counted at a stage, I don't think you went longer than 30 seconds per song. It was such a dynamic flow. What's your preferred style of music if you had to play just for yourself? Because, I mean, obviously your style, your genre lends it to your style.
It would be Afro-tech. Like I'm definitely leaning more towards the Afro-tech type vibe right now. And with the whole not letting songs play out too long, I always view it as trying to tell a story with the music, Like I want it to sound like one long continuous track, So like that's why I like fading things into each other, finding elements in one song that might be able to fit into another one and putting them together like puzzle pieces. I really do find fun and joy in that.
So Afro-tech, explain it to someone like me that doesn't know the difference. I call anything that's made by a computer doof, okay?
Fair enough.
And in my ignorance, I'm willing to admit my ignorance at least, but I know there's different genres. But to me, if you tell me Afro-tech and dance techno and stuff, for me, it's all doof. If I listen to music now, how would I know it's Afro-tech?
I'm sure you know of Afro in general. Like the
like
African
the big
Afro,
hair,
the genre.
Yeah.
Like it's a very prominent genre here in South Africa. Now what Afro-tech did was like take Afro elements and blend it with house type thing. So you've got your snares, but you've also got your soulful like pads. You've got your lyricism, But it is doof. Doof has always been. I've always been a fan of doof. But Afro-tech has a bit more of a South African element when it comes to the doof, but it's not so much house and it's not so much Afro. It's a very fine line in between.
It's like adding some Tristan Yama to techno.
Basically, yeah, that's a very good way to put it. That's a very good way to put it.
When I was in school, look, I was a ravey in school. You wouldn't say, but I enjoyed it. But back then, if someone said, oh, you listen to house, in our perspective, house was basically rave. It was 185 beats a minute or nothing.
Oh, wow.
I know. You would
yeah, if you're not sweating, you're not doing it right.
And if you can't bounce to it and the speaker doesn't make you bounce, is it even music? While having grown up, I've gotten to know through like the guys like Jaron and them and Wiley, he's taught me a lot. There's multiple genres. So if there's one genre in your experience that you think is overplayed, what do you think should be removed from the scene for a bit?
I wouldn't say a genre, but I'm definitely tired of hearing ABBA. I know people are gonna come at me for that, but I hear ABBA every time I go out to play, and I'm about to jump on.
But with ABBA, you can dance. You can jive.
You can dance. Like I've played ABBA
before. You'll be having the time of your life.
I will definitely put like an Afro-tech beat under that ABBA track. Like you'll sing along, but I'm also be having a vibe as well. Type thing.
I would like to delve a little bit into your psychology when it comes to reading the audience, right? As you mentioned, you will tailor your set very much to what you see happening in front of you. And Can you tell me a little bit, how important is it then to prep a set versus how to adapt it, and what are the cues in the people that you're looking for when adapting a set?
I don't really prep sets in the sense of I'm going to play here, so I'm going to play these 30 tracks for this venue. Like, I prep a set in the sense of, okay, this is where I'm going to play, so I'm going to make this playlist my foundation, basically, and then I'm going to work around this playlist according to what happens. Now, when I'm on stage and I'm playing, I'm looking at the crowds, you know, to see who's feeling the music the most, how drunk are they, how many of them are there, you know. What I mainly look for is entirely different groups of people that don't know each other, but that are having the same vibe. And I build on that. That's my main, like, okay, if I see these two groups of people having fun, then I can surely, you know, bring them together, you know? And then that energy is obviously then infectious.
I like it. So basically finding the spot of cohesion and enjoyment and building on that, rather than to say, oh, there's people not enjoying themselves, how am I going to get them? So you focus more on the people already having fun.
Yeah, like if you can get the people that are on the dance floor to have fun, that energy spreads always, hands down. So the people in the back corner that might not even enjoy the music will see the energy that's happening, you know, want to be part of the vibe, and they will eventually come and join the vibe as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's always how it's worked.
So where do you usually play then?
Actually, resident DJ right now at Jolly Roger. I'm working on landing a residency.
That's an Strip for those that don't know.
Yeah, that's the one. And then I'm working on a residency at a street bar currently. Yeah, those are my two main places in Rosebank. That's correct. Street bar named Desire.
So street bar, if you're listening, we are talking to your new resident, just so you know.
That is the goal. Yeah, 100%. It's definitely going to happen.
Well, I mean, I think there's tremendous value in residencies because you do get to build up your skill sets, you get to build up a bit of a fan base, and I think that gives you more of a moment to explode onto scenes like in the festival side of things, because once you've gotten comfortable with that crowd, I think it gives you a bit better space to go into the big stages.
Yeah.
Now, have you had any physical experiences on bigger stages than in clubs? And
I must say the most fun I've had with the crowd and with my music was here for New Year's. 100%. Like that was pretty wild, you know. Again, no set was prepped, you know. I just brought a baseline playlist and built my foundation around that, and you know, everyone started having a good time.
And you had a very cool crowd for New Year's, just saying, because
I really did.
On the one hand, it was womies in khaki clothes, standing there doing this, and on the other hand, you had the 6-year-olds dancing on the one side, and the rest of the people were having the best club night of their Hoedspruit lives.
Exactly. And I did go a bit far out for the Hoedspruit gig, I won't lie. You know, I was like, you know, it's New Year's. You know, like the energy's already here. Just let me, you know, start from like the top, you know, and we'll see what happens. And that worked very, very, very nicely.
I want to ask you about that. Your theory of a set flow. Now, I mean, some people will say you start low, you build the flow, you climax high. Other ones are like, it's all rise, every track has to rise. What's your general approach? I mean, obviously you tailor your sets to what's happening, but what's your general feel? Should a set be all rise? Is there space for dips and ebbs and flows?
I generally look at my sets like bell curves, but not too much of like a difference between, you know, the lowest points and the highest points. You know, like I want to keep the energy like within a certain frequency, you know. So like you can go up, you can go down, but nothing too hectic in either direction.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be able to tell, you know, like what might be a bit too hard for this crowd right now, what might be a little bit too soft, you know, will kill the vibe. Like I said, it's all about like reading what the people are like saying with their bodies type thing. Yeah,
I know when I did a lot of weddings, for instance, you know, I figured, because you cater for a bunch of older people as well, you can't always have the bangers on the dance floor, because sometimes people need to go for a wee break or just sit down for 2 seconds, which is completely different from when you're in a club and you literally want to have the party pumping the whole time. But what stands out for me is like, it seems that you've got a very natural yet purposeful way of approaching the set. You know, you've got the plan, it's not just accidental, right? And how's this for a segue? In my perspective, correct me if I'm wrong, so far that seems to not only be true about your DJ existence, but your personal life as well. It seems like you've got some more purpose, something, you don't live accidentally, you know?
No.
It seems like you've got this, okay, I'm going for the street bar, I'm purposefully going towards that. How's the motivation levels going, and how do you keep yourself motivated when things are not really going your way?
I feel like that comes down to your relationship with the art that you're doing in general, you know, not just DJing. I feel like even on bad days, as long as you have that genuine love for the art, like the bad days are not going to get you down. You know, you'll take it in the shin, you know, you'll polish it off and you'll keep moving. You know, there's no time for you to be like, oh no, well, my last 2 sets have been bad. I should just like quit DJing. No, like you gotta gear up, you know? Like if the motivation dies a little bit, maybe find a new way to do your things. Maybe try a new genre, but I never let the negatives keep you down.
Have you had a really terrible gig?
I've had a few terrible gigs. We all have.
Tell me about the worst one you've had.
The worst gig I had was, I don't want to mention any names, but it was a corporate company gig. And, you know, I'm good at what I do. I know I'm good at what I do. And I was rocking this dance floor. But, you know, there was a certain someone that believed they had some sort of power that would just come and kill my energy every single time I built it, type of thing. So, like, for that type of thing, it didn't really kill the motivation for me, but I just said I'm not going to play for you guys ever again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I believe there's a power in that, in saying no to gigs that doesn't either suit you or make you feel comfortable. Obviously, you can't just say no to anything that makes you feel, oh, I don't really like the smell here, whatever. But you have to stand up for what it is that you want to achieve and who you are now and how the difference is going to be bridged between who you are now and where you want to be.
Exactly.
And that takes strategy.
Yeah, no, it does take strategy because either way you're going to get those people, but it does depend on how those people are now affecting what you are doing with your set, your artistry. Like if they like come with their energy and they are like, you know, basically telling you, no, your brushstroke is wrong. Brush like this, you know, when your painting is working, you know, obviously that'll mess with the flow a little bit, quite a bit, you know, and after a little while, you just get kind of tired of it. You're like, this is, what you want me to do is play Spotify, and that's not why I'm here.
I remember the first time that I took the balls to tell a bride, listen, I appreciate your input. It was in a pre-meeting with a wedding that I did, and they ended up giving me not one, not two, but 3 CDs.
Oh, wow.
With MP3s on. And they said, this is the music for our wedding. And I took a look at it, and it was a whole bunch of really nice acoustic, typey, chilled stuff. But 2 seconds before, they said, no, our friends are party people. Like, I told them in so many words, listen, you're paying me quite a substantial amount of money for my skills and my expertise. I take your input, but I'm still going to play the music for the night that works.
Exactly.
In your career, especially as a younger DJ, I mean, I've had quite a few more years. You might see the difference on me than you have. But at a very young age, you seem to already be confident enough to assert yourself. What would you say has been the factors in your life leading to you being able to, you know, stand up to people much older, much more, I don't know, authoritative than you and assert yourself?
I would say it's definitely by finding what inside you is making you that artist, you know, by grounding yourself in that type thing. If I mean, certainly, like, sure, money is a factor type thing. You know, if people are paying you like a good sum of money that obviously want things to go their way, but you're a bit of a pushover, it's never going to work. Yeah. And like, that's not even just for DJing, that's like life in general type thing. And that's a lesson that I learned very early on, even outside of the industry. Like, if you're a pushover, nothing's ever going to go your way. You know, you're just going to kind of be floating by. You have to find your stance. You have to put your feet in the ground somewhere that you believe you should be.
And I think that is a big part of the generational difference between the two of us. You know, when I was your age, we were still under the schooling thought almost of, yeah and amen, just say yes and, you know, make work what is expected of you, and eventually you will build up into a career or a space or a place where you've got the authority to play the manager instead of the managee. And taking a look at most of my mates sub 28 now, give or take, it's like there's an entire fresh vibe of, listen here, you were taught from a young age to be aware of who you are and stand up for that. And that shines through, as you said, not only in entertainment, but in real life. Would you say that there's a big difference for you in real life, you know, using that confidence that you get from stage and employing that in your normal day-to-days?
I'd actually say it works in reverse. Like, if I wasn't able to apply that in my day-to-day life, I would definitely not be able to apply that on stage type of thing. You have to have your morals set and values. I mean, I did speak about, you know, grounding yourself in your morals and, like, where you want to be as an artist, but that still has to come from who you are as a person type thing. You know, like, if you don't have a certain set of, like, morals and values, like, then again, just going to be a bit of a pushover, going with the wind, going with the ebb and flow of things.
Okay, so give me an example. You say a strong set of morals and values. Is there a type of gig, for instance, that you will say no to, that you will not play because of values that you've got?
Well, that corporate gig that I mentioned earlier, that is one. And then, I mean, I'll do most gigs. There are certain gigs that I don't really enjoy, but a gig that I will definitely say no to is a kid's party. Yeah.
Like what? You turning 4, or are we talking 14?
Like I'm talking about like matric dance downwards type thing.
I've done too many matric films.
Yeah, no. Like those are not the vibe.
You know what's scary? You can't now anymore tell the difference between someone that is... that's one of the reasons why I decided I'm too old to DJ matric films. Quite a few years ago, right? But matric dances was... You had no idea whether you were talking to a matric chick or to the teacher.
True.
You have no clue.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be that guy flirting with the teacher and then finding out, no, she's actually the 16-year-old date of one of the freaking people, because you don't know anymore.
And also, like, it's that as well as... Because, everyone looks kind of the same age at this point in time. You don't want to necessarily be rude to the teacher or like the management that kind of hide you.
Dismiss the teacher, don't worry, go back to school.
No, play a song now, go away, type of thing, yeah.
There is a weird thing that I have noticed. To me, the boys, and like the younger guys, they all look like children. The younger guys specifically kind of tend to look a lot more like kids nowadays. Like I've met 17-year-old, like my landlord's daughter, right? 17 when I met her or something. And honestly, she could pass for 22, 23. But then I saw at her birthday party some of her friends visit, and they're like, "Oh no, this is the guys in our first year varsity." I'm like, dude, you look 12.
I don't know what it might be here, like genuinely. But girls have gotten a little bit older looking recently.
But I don't know, it's a natural thing for me. Like, girls always want to look older than they are when they're young and younger than they are when they're old. And
True.
I think just in the general genetic gene pool, we are lacking in testosterone when it comes to the upbringing of young boys now. So, which is why all of them look like kids.
It's probably some biological factors where, like there as well, like how girls mature a little bit faster than dudes do.
Yet I digress, we're going into biology, which is not our strong point. What I do want to stand still with you for a moment, if we can set aside from the music side of things, is your experience as a young 24-year-old black South African in Pretoria in a very mixed scene. I mean, we were just talking about it earlier during breakfast, the idea that our South African and the general populace approach towards race and communication regarding that seems to be much more open than a lot of the places in the world. A lot of places are still... Oh, you can't talk about this, and South Africa will freaking joke about shit that makes other people choke up.
And then go and drink together.
If you want to impart a bit to me as a slightly older, stereotypically straight white man in Pretoria, what's the difference you feel between your party scene now versus when I did things in Hatfield area 10 years ago, for instance?
The difference...
Not that you were around 10 years ago in Hatfield, but you know what I mean.
Everyone's a little more open now. Everyone's a little more accepting of... I wouldn't say each other's flaws, but each other's differences, Like, even outside of the music scene, like, there is place for people to come and, like, sit and have a conversation, like you said, even if it's uncomfortable, and then even if you're on two sides of the table, you'll still go and drink afterwards. In the music scene, it is like that as well, in terms of everyone's just there to have a good time. And, we'll have our differences, but we're all in the same space, type of thing. Let's respect each other. Let's just go for the vibe,
When I started DJing clubs and pubs and so forth, in Pretoria specifically, I was still, and I think everyone was still very much aware of the fact that, oh, look, it's so cool. We've got white kids and black kids partying together in a very positive way. Look, I mean, the spaces that I played in, like Aantlas and so, was always very accommodating, but it was still a thing to notice, which is odd if you think about it, 10, 15 years after, democracy happened and all that. Do you think it is still a noticeable thing for the younger culture? Your typical Hatfield strip guys, your typical young students now, to say, oh, look how cool it is that we are partying together with people of a different race, or is that just not noticed anymore?
It's in certain places where there's more a variety, that feeling is not so much there. But if you go to like let's say, for instance, like a black club, and like there's a white dude, they're like, yeah, of course, people are gonna notice, people are gonna have fun. But the places that I play are very mixed. That's not something that I really generally pick up on anymore. Yeah, something I've never noticed. You know, I'm just like, everyone's here for a vibe, you know, let me try and accommodate.
I think that is a good point where we are at as South Africans also, is to say, you know what, as long as there's something that connects us, we're no longer focusing on what is the potential divisive factors.
Exactly.
Unless you go to certain places that people are generally speaking assholes. But I've taken a look at how the different approaches is between the younger generation now, where you fall in, what are you, Gen Zs?
Yeah, Gen Z.
Oh, man. And versus, I don't want to say my era of people, but I mean, there's a certain ilk of people that I surround myself with that has always been accepting to anyone and everyone, and we don't care. Versus now, that seems to be a bit more the norm amongst the young people, while older people are still trying to impress their stupid values on the kids. They just want to rock out and have a good life, eh? Have you ever been faced with some racial situations that you thought, listen, buddy, just, you know, you're too old for this shit, go away?
Not really. Like, and I must say, I've been. Are we talking in terms of industry or like in general?
Indulge me.
Like, yeah, a few times. Obviously, like, I'm a black South African. I feel like statistically it's going to happen at some point in time. It's happened a few times, but never in the music scene. You know, like, I've never felt any sort of segregation in the music scene type thing. Obviously, the older generation still has the morals and values that they were, like, raised upon. And the new generation is a lot more accepting of each other, and they're also a lot more accepting of older generation that's also not trying to change. And I feel like that's definitely something beautiful, not only in the music scene, but like in like corporate as well, you know, in other artistic spaces. People are nowadays being more inclusive, and that's even now rubbing across on the older generation. You know, like, they're starting to open the eyes a little bit more and be more inclusive as well now. Like, that is something that I have seen even in like the 7 odd years of me like being a DJ. I've played for moms and dads, like sunnies, you know, at the Jolly Roger with a bunch of 18-year-olds, you know, and they're having a really good time, you know, asking genuine questions about, you know, people in their lives and where they've been and how they got here and type thing. So it's definitely getting better in that sense, but there is still a lot of work to do, you know?
I'm torn because a lot of times we are faced with everyone saying what is needed about this is conversation. I don't always agree with that, because I think sometimes we should bypass the conversation about the difficult topics in our existence and just go have a drink together. Just talk about what matters to you instead of addressing an issue. I think a lot of people are just sitting at a table talking, oh, racism, apartheid, racism, culture difference, racism, and focusing so much on that with positive intent. Whereas doing what you do and just getting people together in a communal space, doing something that everyone enjoys, I think goes a lot further than just talking about cock.
I actually never thought about it that way.
I mean, if we share a meal and I can say, man, I like this meal, and you say, well, I like this meal too, isn't it better to bond on something that we both like than trying to suss out and address the inequities of the past the whole time?
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's all about finding common ground, common middle ground. Like, if you can find something where you can connect with someone, even if it's on a very small level, then there's obviously something that you can build out of that. You know, there's a lot further that you can take that, instead of, you know, like you said, like let's have this racial conversation or whatnot. Like, let's go have a drink. You know, let's go have a vibe together. Let's like connect as people. You know, sure, there's problems going on, but like, that's not why we're here.
And if you've got differences with someone, I think we'll find that the 1% of things we differ on drastically, we might find 99 other things that we agree on.
Exactly. And it's okay to disagree.
You won't know if you don't speak to someone. Okay, now, South Africa as a country, right? We've got conversations happening. We're very strictly aware of what's wrong. And I think there's a big pocket of people that are just, I think there's a big portion of people that just don't care about what's wrong anymore, and they just want to focus on what's good. And aligning yourself with that is inevitably going to be putting you in a better space than just constantly looking for the negatives.
Yeah.
What I would like to know from you, speaking as a full-on representative for everyone in this country under the age of 25, right? That is you now. Is there something, a message that you reckon that the older generation, let's say people 45, 40 and older, has to hear from younger people, especially in the entertainment industry that you are in?
I mean, it's okay to have differences, you know? Like, as like we both know that we're people here, and it's also very important to recognize that there are issues, but it's also very important to not dwell on those issues. If you look for the silver linings, you know, you're going to start seeing more of those silver linings. Like, recognizing the problem and then immediately trying to solve it is never going to work. You know, we have to recognize the problem. We have to now like sit down, have a beer, you know, not necessarily talk about it, but connect as people first before we can start addressing any huge issues that might be affecting the country industry-wise or everywhere else type of thing. You know, we just have to come together as a people, basically.
Well,
That's
as we
all
were
we
talking
are.
earlier today, I mean, was it Stephen Kluler and them that mentioned that the best idea would be to have elections during sports finals because then everyone is already in this mindset of
Exactly.
togetherness instead of
Exactly.
separateness. I think you are in a very privileged position as a generation because, yes, you are aware of the inequities of the past, but I think so far you were born in an era when everyone was already busy striving to fix shit.
Exactly.
However, there's still a lot more to do. And I think that what you're busy doing plays a bigger part than any politician will ever do. Because if you can get someone to party together, you don't need them to politic together in order to get along.
Exactly. If we're all connecting in a good sense, you know, then there can only be good energy. Like that's one of the biggest reasons why I love my craft, is because it's people of different walks, people of different generations, people of different backgrounds that all come together and just like have a good time. You know, like we all know that there are issues going on, but that's not what we're focusing on right now.
Yeah.
We're just focusing on like each other and like our energy and like, you know, like the moment that we're in currently.
And the nicest thing for me is, look, you are, again, in the privileged situation where being of a similar mindset as those around you, doesn't matter whether they come from different backgrounds or so, it's easier to work together.
100%,
Because if you still have to convince someone that, listen here, buddy, your views might be slightly skewed when it comes to equality, for instance, it is, to me, a little bit more difficult to have a good time with them. Like, in my age group, there's still a lot of people, I think, that are subconsciously and or consciously living in the past. Whereas I thoroughly enjoy that the general approach of people sub 30 now is, you know what, we're already working together. Politics set aside for a second, because I think, you know, one can dwell on all the nitty-gritty things of our country for quite some time, and having the good experiences, as we said, does bring people together. But for you yourself, how would you perceive your generation to be when it comes to elements that, you know, socializing and so in a post-COVID situation? Because you had a very big part of your immediate post-20s, your early 20s was spent with a mask.
Yeah.
Do you think that that has an impact on you, the way that you perceive socializing with people?
Not so much. I mean, like the COVID happened, you know, and that was all social distancing. But during that moment, we all recognized that people now more than ever trying to reach out and connect, you know, and like when like the lockdown restrictions started coming down, there was a lot more like love and appreciation, understanding for each other type thing, you know, like I wouldn't say that it had any sort of negative impact. It had an impact for sure, but nothing hectic in terms of now there's more differences type thing. Like we're all going through the same struggle, you know, like we all just want to connect, we all just want to reach out, you know, that's what we want to do. And right now socializing is, I would think, and I feel like it's a little bit easier, you know, because people now are just, you know, they recognize that you're a person, I'm a person. Let's have a good time together, you know. Let's be friends. Let's find something that we can connect about.
Because
you know? Let's build a relationship on that.
You had this entire pandemic to band together against the government. I mean, against the pandemic.
Against the government, yeah.
The one thing that I was fearful for was that you're going to sit with a club situation or a social situation that will be negative for the event side of things, because, you know, I was scared that people were going to be trained to be fearful of personal space invasion. You know, a club is a club, and a club is good if there's a million bodies on the dance floor dancing together within such close proximity that you can smell what the previous person had for dinner 2 weeks ago. And what's your perception? Are people okay again being together in close proximity to each other, or is there a bit more iffiness in the clubs? Because I'll be honest, I haven't done a proper club in years.
I'll just take you out some time. Obviously COVID impacted events in terms of, you know, everything was shut down for a moment. But I'd like, not for a second did I ever stress that, like, when things open back up again, people are going to be wary towards each other, because humans are very social creatures, you know? Yeah. Like they need to be in close proximity. That's why things like clubs do very well. It's because it's people coming together type thing, you know? Like I was never worried that when the clubs opened up again, there was going to be like, no, stay 2 meters away from me. No, like it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. I mean, people were breaking protocol, but when clubs started opening up again, like it was hugs, like it was like, where were you? I missed you, like type thing. So if anything, that definitely, in my opinion, like brought not just the event scene, but people in general just a little bit closer. Yeah.
I like that.
Because there was something for like everyone to like be like, okay guys, we're all dealing with this cuck. Let's just, try to make it through somehow with each other,
And again, proving that, entertainment music is a way to bring people together and get over collective hurdles.
Exactly.
I like that. And I mean, people are so often eager to say music brings people together, but then no one can tell you how or why. And I think that you are, and your industry is a living embodiment of that how, which is pretty cool. I want to say, you've got an excellent opportunity. And by you, I don't only mean you, I mean literally entertainers in your age group, in your sphere of existence, with your mindset that you're growing up. I think you guys can make a much bigger difference in the mindsets of people than you think you can. And I think you've got a tremendous social responsibility on you to not just be the entertainer, but be essentially a social leader.
Yeah, like
people look up to what you say on
connector,
socials, or they might resonate more with what you say. So I'm not saying you should become preachy, but you do have an onus on you to be a positive influence on those around you.
Yeah.
Do you consciously lead as a prominent figure in the social circles where you move in, or is it just you shape your own life and you take it in stride to just, if others want to follow the way that I do myself, my own lifestyle, that's fine?
Again, I feel like it comes back to your morals and your values. Like positivity is my message. Like I'm always trying to preach positivity. Not just for like myself, but like the circles that I'm in. And people that do have their eyes on me. Like I just try to preach love and like happiness. Like look for the good things in life. There's a lot of shit. Like we can name an infinite list of shit that's going on, but like try to look for the good things. I mean, without positivity, it's a very dark place.
So basically, if I understand correctly, if you shape yourself correct, then you don't necessarily need to think of how am I going to influence others, as long as you've already got the positivity in you.
Yeah, basically. That's it right there.
There you go. That should go on a t-shirt.
That inner positivity, if you can spread that, then you're doing good.
Now listen, DJ Izzit. For the longest while I had you on my phone as DJ TJ, and for the first few gigs, side note, that I booked you for, you never corrected me that it's actually DJ Izzit. I just said, this is TJ, he's the DJ, and it rhymes, so I assume he's DJ TJ. And you played like 2 or 3 gigs at Whisk under the name DJ TJ, and you never bothered to tell me that it actually isn't.
A lot of people did just assume I go with the DJ TJ because it's very easy. It really is easy. And it rhymes.
No, DJ TJ isn't, right? I've got this habit of finishing up with something a little bit more lighthearted on the Baascast. Welcome, by the way, to the Baascast. Thanks for sitting through your first session here. I hope there will be more. But I want to do a bit of a quick fire round, and the first thing that pops into your head is what you have to answer for this.
Okay.
If you have any doubts about it, you can buzz and say pass.
Okay.
All right. So I want to know from you. This is the get to know TJ in roughly 10 questions. I'm not counting, so I won't know. Favorite DJ in the world?
Martin Garrix.
Favorite local act?
Mikasa.
Least favorite strain of music to play?
Country.
Country's very wide, though. Club that you really want to get into internationally?
Ushuaia in Ibiza.
Nice.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
South African music festival that you want to play?
Rage.
Fantastic. Which one? Are there still the one in Plet and the one in Durbs, I think?
Plet and Durb.
Which one would you prefer?
Definitely one in Belito.
Belito, Durban, same
Belito,
thing, man.
yeah.
Come on.
Belito, Durban.
Musical inspiration that is not a DJ or a techno artist?
It's a very unknown band, but they're called Kowloon. Yeah, like it's not even, they don't do any doof. Like it's almost like preachy, but in a sense that doesn't breathe down your throat,
Very nice.
Yeah.
And second last question. Favorite South African restaurant?
Nando's.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And last but not least, what is the most motivating thought that you can give anyone listening right now?
Don't try to be something else that you're not, Like if you know that you you're supposed to be somewhere, try to follow that path. You might have to, do certain things during that time that'll help you get there. It might take a little longer, but you gotta keep pushing for where you want to go and what you want to be. Never lose your sense of self. That's what I would say.
Well, DJ Izzit, I really appreciate you standing up, not only for your art form and for your whole entire generation, but for a vibe of positivity in South Africa. And I really look forward to seeing what you're going to be achieving with your career, because I think maybe it's just the start.
Oh, it really is.
Thanks so much for joining me, dude.
Thank you, man.
And thank you.
Until next time.
Thanks for watching the Baascast, and do yourself a favor. If ever you are in Hoedspruit, go to Ujabule Lodge, stunning place to be at, and of course go and pay the brewery a visit, Hoedspruit Brewing Co. We are here recording right before we go into the Hoedspruit Beer Fest. It's a fantastic day. And by the way, click things, press buttons, like, share, subscribe, and do all the fancy stuff. Goodbye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Baascast, and thanks Justin Lee Photography for your camera.